To say Monday Night Raw hasn't been great is putting it lightly. At times it's been complete shit. This past week on Monday Night Raw, we saw the return of Vince McMahon. He brought out his family, and they told us that we, the WWE Universe, were going to become the new GM of Raw and Smackdown. So what does this mean? Is the product actually going to change? Are new faces actually going to make a difference? I'll tell you what I think right now. The first couple things the McMahons told us when they were in the ring is that the WWE Universe is going to become the GM, they're going to start listening to us and doing the things that we want, and they're going to introduce new faces and presumably call up talent from NXT, which they later announced. Everybody loves a good NXT call up, and I know that personally I'm excited for some of the names that they announced, which I'll talk about in a second. But I think the biggest thing that they announced is that they're going to start listening to audience feedback. And if they can do this right, and actually stick to their word, I think that this is the biggest change that they could possibly make. So if you've been watching Raw for the past couple of weeks, some things that you might want to see change are the way that they've used certain talent, the fact that some guys don't even show up on Raw or SmackDown for weeks or even months at a time, and some of the storylines, and also the fact that there's a real lack of continuity and that a lot of stuff just doesn't make sense and doesn't really carry over from the previous week. On Raw, Triple H was the one who told us that they're going to start listening to audience feedback and doing things that we want to see. And to me, the biggest change I saw regarding that was the way that they handled the tag team divisions on both shows this week. On Raw, we saw the Revival win a tag team tournament to become #1 contenders, and on SmackDown, we saw the reemergence of Gallows and Anderson and Sanity, two teams who have been missing from SmackDown in a really long time. And this is a really good thing because on both shows, we've kind of just seen the same tag teams treading water, facing each other, and doing the same stuff that we're used to. And even though a lot of the talent, especially on the SmackDown side, is really good and they all have really great chemistry together, you just kind of need something to freshen it up, and you need to see different talent in there. And when they have certain talent on the roster that's kind of just on the back burner, not really doing anything, yeah, we definitely want to see them get involved somehow, and I think it's only good for everyone to include them a little bit at a time. It was also actually pretty refreshing to hear Gallows and Anderson even allude to the fact that they haven't been on SmackDown in forever. I think that they mentioned that the last time they were on SmackDown, which was August, and that they're one of the best tag teams in the world. It was really good to hear that, and also good to hear that they're acknowledging what they said that they're going to change. And the way that they've treated the Authors of Pain in the past few weeks has just been complete shit. Like, it's really bad. They're supposed to be ass kickers and destroying the division, not some goofy comedy gimmick with Drake Maverick. And even though I know that Rockstar Spud was really funny in Impact, it's just really not working on Raw. And the blend of the seriousness of the Authors of Pain, who hardly speak and just really just beat people up, and then you get Drake Maverick doing his thing, it just really doesn't go. So I'm not saying that they have to give the Revival the tag titles, or Gallows and Anderson, or Sanity the titles, and put them at the top of the card. But all they really should do is give them a chance, and at least just include them, and make them not look like total shit on certain weeks, because they're going to need guys like that, because the tag team divisions are pretty thin right now. Another thing that they could change about Raw and SmackDown is the way that they use certain talent. And the first guy that I think about is Bobby Lashley. I don't know what the hell they're doing with Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. When Lashley returned the day after WrestleMania, I thought his run was going to be huge. And he even beat Roman Reigns clean at Extreme Rules in Newark. And I don't think a lot of people remember that. And I don't think WWE remembers that either, because that was a huge deal at the time, even if that pay-per-view wasn't really that great. But I thought his run was going to be so much bigger than it was, and I know a lot of people feel the same way, because he really just hasn't done shit on the main roster. I thought the pairing with Lio Rush was also going to do wonders for him too. If you're familiar with Rush's work at all in CZW or Ring of Honor or PWG, anything outside of WWE, you know he's really charismatic and really talented as a whole, but the pairing just really hasn't worked at all whatsoever. The biggest reason, in my opinion, why Lashley's run hasn't worked is because they haven't given him any storylines or anything relevant to do at all. He's sort of been treading water in this Elias feud that's been going on for way too long. I really don't even know how long it's been going on anymore. And it's not really doing anyone any good because they're not advancing the storyline at all, and there's no stakes involved whatsoever. So what they need to do is at least just give Lashley a chance, and to do that, they got to get him out of this Elias storyline and have him do something a little more relevant. I'm kind of curious to see what he does in the Royal Rumble. He's not someone who I think is going to win it, and maybe not someone who should right now given the way he's been booked. But when you look at him and you look at his character, he's probably someone that should win a Royal Rumble at some point. And what they really need to do with a guy like him and a lot of other people is just take a chance. They have too many guys on the roster that they just don't do anything relevant with. Another guy is Finn Balor, and I know a lot of people agree with me. I know he's a fan favorite. He's one of my favorites too. And even though we've all heard that WWE likes guys with size and Finn doesn't really fit that, maybe he has an underdeveloped character, which a lot of guys kind of do, I think that giving him a push or just giving him a chance in general will do a lot. You got to give him a chance to see if he can do more. And I think that a guy like Finn can do more. And I think that that's the case with a lot of people too. But for some reason, they're afraid to give him a chance, and they're afraid to give other guys chances. And I'm not really sure why, because I don't know what they have to lose. Monday Night Raw has already reached the lowest viewership it's ever had in its existence. So what are they risking? Are they risking the ratings? No. Are they risking a television deal with Fox? No. So then what is it? Because people want to see a guy like Finn get pushed, and other guys too. It's not just Finn. Too many guys are treading water doing nothing, and instead of giving them a chance, they just keep them in that position. Dolph Ziggler was another guy who they did that for a long time with. And even though he had this good storyline with Drew McIntyre and the tag team and all that stuff, you know, he's probably going to go right back into that role, unfortunately, because we've seen them do it with him a lot. He kind of does something and then he doesn't do shit for a while. By giving a guy like Finn or Lashley a chance, you see what they can really offer for the product. And I don't understand why WWE doesn't want to do that. Because again, I don't think that they have anything to lose. People want to see these guys do more important things. They don't want to see them lost in the shuffle. And when you look at the roster and you look at how talented it is, from top to bottom, these shows could be so stacked that you don't want to take your eyes off of Raw or SmackDown. If they want, they have the power to make every segment and every match relevant because of how talented the roster is. There's nobody on the talent that I look at and I think, wow, they're complete shit and I don't want to see them. There's just really nobody that sucks. There isn't. And there's guys that I like more than others, and I know I might have different taste than other people, but I don't think that there's anybody particularly bad or offensively bad on either roster at all. So if they're going to start listening to audience feedback, what they got to do is just give these people a chance. And if you got to give them a push not knowing what's going to come, then so be it. That's the point. You want to see what people can do for you. You don't know if somebody's going to be money if you don't put them in a money situation. Because in order to see what you have with guys, you got to take a chance and you got to take a risk. Sometimes you got to just roll the dice. And at the end of a run, if it doesn't work, then you know what you have with someone and you know where you can value them and where you can slot them into your roster. If you don't take a chance, you're going to see the same guys at the top of the card and you're going to see the same segments over and over again. And that's something that we want to see change. And if they can change that, I think that's the biggest difference they can make. And that's what's going to make the product better overall. Not introducing new talent, because the talent that they have is fine. But getting into that, we later found out on Raw that we're going to see the debut of Heavy Machinery, EC3, Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, and Lars Sullivan, who we already knew was going to show up at some point. And while I'm excited to see EC3 do his thing on the main roster, I'm not really sure about this whole idea because, again, I think that the rosters are a little bit crowded right now, and more importantly, they don't know how to divide time for people to do relevant things. I'm hoping that I get proven wrong because I want to see a guy like EC3 or even Lars Sullivan, who I haven't really been a fan of. I want to see him kill people the way Braun Strowman does. I think that he can pretty much do the same thing on SmackDown and it would get over. I think that a lot of us would like it. And I don't think that any of the 6 people that they plan on calling up don't have talent. But part of me doesn't trust that they're going to give any of them anything relevant to do because we see a lot of guys come up from NXT that just don't pan out. One of those guys is one of my favorites, Andrade Cien Almas. His arrival on the main roster hasn't been a flop, but it just hasn't reached what it could be yet. And I know he was in the main event of SmackDown Live the other night, but he hasn't been featured on SmackDown every week consistently, and sometimes he's just not there at all. So as far as the call-ups that they announced goes, I don't really know what's going to happen. I think that there's some people there who have big time potential, but at the same time, some of them haven't really done that much on NXT. And I'm just wondering if the fact that they don't have momentum right now in NXT might hurt them. Because I want to see EC3 and Nikki Cross kill it when it comes to the main roster. I don't want to see any of them fail. I actually want to see all of them have success because I think that that only means that the product is going to be better in the end. But overall, I just feel like if this shakeup is going to work, they're going to have to give guys chances that they normally don't and change certain things about the way they book people and the tag teams and not focus on the talent as much. Because again, I feel like the talent pool is as deep as it could possibly be. And I think that if they're able to change those things, then we'll end up getting a consistent Monday Night Raw and SmackDown that we all enjoy.